Totally get it. Totally get it. Um, so how do you per se personally deal with your own mental health?
That's a great question. So just to piggyback on what I said before, therapists need therapists. So there have been instances where I've lost patients, like they've died, they passed away. And one of the things is that I have three expectations out of all my patients, which I have to withhold in myself: mind, body, spirit. You got to take care of all three. So I take care of my body. I do jujitsu. I try my best to eat well, but Thanksgiving holidays, I'm like, sweet potato pie is the thing. And because we are what we eat. And so one of the things I've been researching more and more is about how foods affect us mentally. And I didn't realize until like a few months back, I was doing more research on serotonin that actually comes in our gut. So I was like, oh, so serotonin is created in the intestine. So if that's the case, then what I eat is going to affect serotonin, which is a major chemical component to being happy. So all these things, and if my spirit is weak, then my body's going to feel weak. So, I make sure I pray, meditate, all these things. And I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not perfect. But I also, because of the position I'm in as a therapist, I have to be accountable and set myself accountable, because if I don't do it, that makes me a hypocrite to my patients. And I really want them to heal. And I really want them to see that there is light in darkness, and there's darkness and light. We can't have one without the other. So when I fight my demons, one, I acknowledge, like, okay, I am not in a good headspace. I acknowledge. I actually have a support system myself, especially since there are things that I see that with my job that just is very triggering and heartbreaking. So I have a good support system. Coming out to before COVID, poetry, comedy, all these things that help shift the mindset to be, it's not just an escape, but it's also to participate in creating new pathways in the brain. So yeah.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. Um, I don't, Miss Monika, I don't have any more questions. Um, well, yes, I do. I got two more. If there was one thing that you could tell your 18-year-old self right now, what would it be?
Oh God. Can we back it up to 17? I would be like, cool,
Yeah.
girl, don't marry him. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, the best advice, and I actually use this too. I write in a journal, and I'll go back and I'll tell my self things to my former self, is that you're not as horrible as you think you are. I would tell my former self, you are a beautiful woman and you're worth being loved. And if anybody who steps up to you doesn't love you the way that you deserve to be loved, then you let them go. You don't have to have a sense of loyalty that has been taught down from your parents through corporations, like, how we're loyal to our jobs. You don't have to have a sense of loyalty to the actual loyalty. Be loyal to yourself. I'll be real with you. This is a conversation I started having with myself recently. Be loyal to yourself, and not in a selfish kind of way, but if I love somebody and I do all these things for them, why am I doing it for myself? So these are practices, and I feel like when it comes to mental health, it's just like physical health. Your brain is the central nervous system. So that means it controls the entire body. And so it is not just a one and done. It is a forever thing. We are forever growing. And that is one thing I would tell myself, is be patient with yourself. You're forever growing. How you think now, you're not going to think when you're 25. How you think at 25, you're definitely not going to think when you're 30. And it is okay to be sad. It is okay to be angry. It's not okay to lash out in anger and be destructive, because it affects not just yourself, but the world around you.
Wow, 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 wow. How much of this do you believe you attract what you are?
Oh God, 100%. I do. Birds of a feather flock together. And then also I have a flip side to that, just through observation. Now, um, sometimes I think that we flock to people because That's who we desire to be, and we don't know how to do it. So we flock towards the people and like, oh, if only I could fit in, but I don't fit in, but I want to fit in. And then we create, and I say we, not necessarily just for anybody. It's just, I'm sorry. It's like the collective we, like the royal we. So, so then I find that just watching people, that they all start these toxic relationships because it's something that they want, but they don't fit. But even though they don't fit, they're like, I want this, despite everything and how it affects me and how I feel. I want that. And so, yes, we attract what we are, but also I think we gravitate to something that we want, despite it being bad for us.
Just because we want it, and we
Yeah.
and so, do you think that's part of us wanting what we want, or us wanting something to fill an empty place?
Both.
Both.
It's wanting what we want, but also, and also too is, you know, I don't know about you, but like, it's easier to focus on something else than yourself. It's hard to look at the woman in the mirror. And so there's a poem I love so much. It's called The Woman in the Glass. And that poem right there, like I had to read that poem when I was pledging. And it's so true. It's like, don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat the woman in the glass. And we do that. And I'm guilty of it too, because it's not the same world for women as it is for men, even though they say we're equal. We're really not. And that's a whole nother podcast. But that alone, this unconscious thing of we as women have to do a certain thing to a certain kind of way, that's a lot of pressure, you know, and that affects our mental well-being. But to be able to shoot our hands up like, you know what? No, you're not healthy for me. I choose to be healthy. Even though I want you, that's the hard part, is learning to let it go. I want you, but you're not good for me. That's the hard part, is letting it go.
So if there was one tad bit of an advice that you could give to our listeners today that could possibly change their life, what would it be?
Something that would change. Jiu-jitsu. I'm sorry. I'm always going to do that because for me, everybody's different. But for me, I had so much going on. I had my marriage came to an end. I had nowhere to live. I was in a very dark area. And lo and behold, there was an enrollment center for my gym that offered jiu-jitsu. I walked in there. The owner was very kind to me. I signed up that day and I haven't looked back. It has changed my life. So it might be someone like jiu-jitsu did that for me, but for you, maybe poetry. So go find your jiu-jitsu is what I'm saying. Find that thing that you won't give up on, because you know without it, like it's like breathing. You know, when quarantine happened and it took everything away from me, it took the jiu-jitsu, it took the poetry, it took comedy, and I ended up cutting 8 inches off my hair because I was like, something has to give, Lord. and when we started opening back up, it's like, okay, it means something. And so these are things that are helpful. And again, it doesn't replace therapy. Like I said, therapy is great because therapy has actually been scientifically proven to change brain waves and connections in the brain. So, but to maintain, have the things that you need to maintain to survive and be able to say and use the excuse of, oh, I'm sorry, I got a show tonight, because you know that person's not good for you. That's like a supreme pizza with extra cheese, and you know they probably added some extra garlic sauce on it, and it's a good day, but you want that. So you go get it because you know you can, you have access to it. And so no, go create a world and protect your peace. Don't eat the pizza is what I'm saying.
guys. And so, you know, a couple of episodes ago, one of our last episodes, we talked about finding your therapy. So her one word was say it again. Jiu-jitsu. Her one word was jiu-jitsu. My one word she's right, would be poetry. So it's all about you and your therapy and what works for you, but finding that thing, finding that thing. I gotta piggyback off of Miss Monika, because she said it's all about maintaining. Because a lot of times we think that mental health is a one-hit quitter or one stop, you get it and that's it. You don't need no more. But you always, as she said, we're always growing, we're always evolving. So as we grow, as we evolve as women, okay, we're gonna have to maintain that growth so we don't lose progress. And so these are things that we do to set in place so we don't lose that progress. Ladies, I am so excited. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm so excited about this conversation. I'm so excited about this series. It's all about finding what works for you. It's all about choosing you. It's all about putting you first. It's all about you feeling you so that you can pour into others.
Yes.
This is my time. Thank you. This is your girl, Shantri Smoot, with Conversations of a Grown Woman, where we as women can choose to grow together. Nothing is off limits. We will talk about our homes, our hearts, our children, and most importantly, our God. If we said something that resonated well with you, or if we said something that said indifferent with you, please reach out. Let us know. And if you have not done so already, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Go and find the YouTube channel, Shantri Smoot. Okay. And if you are in seek of some mental health services, Miss Monika has given you her information. Okay. I am not a counselor, but I know a few. All right. And Miss Monika is one of them. If you are looking to expand yourself, grow in goals and reach goals. Now, your girl, can help you in that. I'll coach you in your goals, but I can't take care of your mental health. Okay. So remember, love with your whole heart, because I love you. Hey, okay, I'm done.
Oh, that was awesome. Oh, that was great. Oh, I'm sitting here watching. I'm just like, oh, I still need to start my podcast.
I love it. When I don't want to do anything else, I do this. When I'm not in the mood to do poetry, I do this. Like I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not on social media at all. This is me taking time to refill me so that I can come back and give out, and so that I can be full. But even though I haven't done any of that, and I love recording the motivational videos, it's just when I don't want to do any of that, this podcast is it.
That's what's up.
I love it. I get up in the morning, I'm thinking about it. So
oh, that is great. That is great.
I guess because I'm using my voice. So that's always a thing. And like you said, with us not being able to actually perform a lot like we used to, this is my one way. Of course, I could tell stories through written word, and I love that. But I feel like this right here is another level of transparency for me.
Oh, definitely, most definitely, it's wonderful, and I'm so grateful that you had me on. This is wonderful. I love mental health. Like I love it. Like I could talk about it forever. And my brother was like, you could shut it off. I was like, I don't know how.
And that's but because we're around people who don't talk about it enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, my trauma started at a young age, but my mental health journey also started at a young age too. Because I remember talking to my mom about my trauma, and she was like, "Do you want to go to therapy?" And I remember looking up at her like, "Huh? What?" And she was like, "Do you want to go to therapy?" And I didn't give her a yes or no. I was just like, "Okay, I'll let you know." And and eventually, I went and made that step on my own. But the seed was sown,
Right.
So it's like, okay, I think the level of wisdom that a lot of people see when they see me, they don't realize that it's from partaking in my own mental health journey that I've been able to learn and know so much. It's not about me actually knowing, but it's about me being a participant more than anything.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because there's a type of therapy called dialectical behavior therapy. It was created by Michelle Lahanahan. I hope I pronounced her name right. But I'll send you a link and all the stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it works really well with borderline personality disorder. but I find that there are techniques in there that work well overall, like mindfulness. Like everybody has a kick from mindfulness now. That comes out of DBT. And what DBT focuses on is that the therapist isn't like this expert. They're taking this journey with you.
Yes. It's so
You
much,
know?
Miss Monica, it's so much that I can visualize that I really, really want to do as far as mental health, especially when you start talking about writing and teaching people to express themselves. Because all of my poetry, I have yet, well, I fantasize some stuff. Okay, never mind. But majority of my poetry is like from experiences. And for me personally, once I write about it, for the most part, that's it. Like I'll write and I'll cry all the way through writing it. Like, I mean, boo hoo and boo boo boo. And maybe the first time I'm performing it, but after that, that's it. It doesn't bother me, you know. I'm no longer carrying that emotion of in a lot of cases anger, because it's almost like it's been wiped off of me. So just wanting to be able to extend that gift to other people, you know, their thing might not be poetry, but if you learn how to just write it and paint that picture to tell that story, like I've gone for this all day.
No, you're right. And that's actually another technique for trauma and trauma focused therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, because it's about changing cognitions. So what we do is that in the very beginning of that treatment is you learn self-soothing skills first, because it's very triggering. You're going through your trauma line. So especially as a kid. So we teach all these calming skills first, like, you know, you tense your body, you relax it, walking and all the things. And then we start going through what we call the narrative. And that is them literally from the beginning to the end of their trauma and rewriting it over and over and over. But while they're writing it, when they have to stop, then they have the coping skill and then they use that skill. And a lot of times people come to me and it's like, oh, breathing doesn't work. I was like, well, do you breathe every day? I was like, well, then it works if you use it every day. It's like, it doesn't work when you're angry. I was like, we lose intelligence when we angry. I don't expect anything to work when you're angry. So they're like, what? So when they're calm in my office, like, this is when we practice these skills, because this is how you're going to remember. It's like muscle memory. It's like, if you don't do the drills, I don't expect it to work. You can come in my office all day long and we can talk all day long. You might feel a little bit better, but I'm thinking 6 months down the road. I don't want you to just feel better today. I want you to be able to feel better tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So when something comes up and you don't have access to me as your therapist, you'd be downtown and a wind will blow and then a certain scent will hit you. And the next thing you know, you're crying. But if you don't have the skills, you know, then you just crying. Everybody looking like, who's this crazy woman? You know?
It's all about the tools. Oh my God, I'm super excited. Ah!
I think what you're doing is a blessing to a lot of women, because I feel like while you were talking, I was like, she's bringing people together, especially women. We need to bond more together as women. We've been told and taught for some reason to hate each other.
We can love each other. I got one more interview, and the lady that I'm interviewing, she talks a lot about PTSD. She lived out some very, very traumatic things, and I'm super excited about that, because we don't know as women. You talking about leaving abusive relationships, abusive marriages. You got PTSD, boo.
Yeah.
But we don't realize that. Or for my women that have suffered from molestation or rape or even miscarriages, you got PTSD.
Oh yeah.
So
yes, we do. Oh, and here's another thing about PTSD. I am starting to believe every single person of color has generational PTSD from racism. Yeah. I actually tried talking to someone else about that, and like they got all upset. I said, no, this is not to get you upset. This is to realize that this is traumatic.
And the trauma has been passed down through stories, not only through stories, but through trained taught behavior as well.
Oh yeah. And now with the internet, we have access to, like, I watched that whole 8 minutes and George, I watched it all, and I was just like, there were so many times they could have stopped. And I was just like, they could have stopped in the first 5 minutes. And so now we all have this exposure to trauma events. And one of the thing about the diagnosis of PTSD is just to witness it.
Yeah.
You don't have to physically go through it. You can witness it or hear that someone that you love or close to has died a horrible death or suddenly, and it traumatizes a person. So